experience, but I am sure that it was an experience from God, but I might have been dosed by the EMTs. And then I was in this truck and it was the devil and there was Jesus on the side of the road. And then he turned into a homeless guy, but Jesus and the devil were fighting over my soul. But it actually wasn't the devil. It was just a guy in a truck who I think might have been the personification. Oh my God.
And I'm on the fence about whether God exists.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on the fence. No. Yeah. All right. We've got Ronald in Houston. Thanks for waiting. Welcome to the show. You're on with Matt and Geoff.
Hello. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing well, Ronald. How are you?
It's going weird.
Yeah, I can tell because of that call.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you got for us? And you are lucky because Geoff is here to answer things in a different way than I could about your particular issue.
Yeah, true. So, let's see. So, first, I just want to say, I guess, thank you. I don't want to go too much into my personal story. I just want to talk about an issue I'm having, but I do want to say thank you because, as you can see from the call screener, I'm from Houston and I've grown up in a really religious community. My parents are Southern Baptists, still are. So I just want to say thank you for, everything that you've been doing over the past, I don't know how long you've been doing it, because it's really, helped me out with a lot of stuff. So I just want to say thanks for that.
Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Yeah. Meant a lot to me, that's for sure. So, yeah, I guess the main thing I wanted to ask is, so me being an atheist and my parents being Southern Baptist, I've been having some issues with, I guess, trying to get them to see where I'm coming from and trying to get accepted because they're very devout in what they believe. I think the one thing that could summarize it best was I was talking to my dad a couple weeks ago, and I'm 20, by the way, so it's not like I'm at the point where I can civilly talk with them about these things. We can get into arguments and discussions, but
you're at that wonderful age where it makes it harder for them to just dismiss this as rebellion, and yet maybe not quite viewed as mature enough to where they aren't afraid of being disparaging. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I honestly, I don't know Geoff's background here, so it'll be interesting to hear how he addresses this because while I have advice, I don't know that I've had that much success dealing with this issue with my parents, so I might not be very good at giving advice on this.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess my mom is a lot more, I don't want to say irrational, but she's a lot more devout and a lot more, I guess, grounded in her roots and her faith. I would ask her about the Bible and why she believes it, and she'll say, because the Bible believes it, circular arguments and stuff like that. And,
sure.
I'll ask her, what's the proof of what you're saying is true? And she'll tell me that she's the proof, and she'll tell me that, I'll ask her how, and she'll say she's been changed, and I'll ask her how she knows that her being changed and a Muslim or a Buddhist being changed, those sort of arguments. And, it's kind of hard to get through to both of them because, they've been believers their whole life. And like I said, I'm in Texas, so I grew up in a really religious community. Most of even my extended family, like my aunt's uncles, are religious. So it's kind of hard to communicate with them. It's kind of difficult. So
what's the goal?
I think my biggest goal, honestly, my biggest goal would just be to get them to understand that, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go too much into my story, but when I grew up, they did, baptize me and all that, and now I'm an atheist. So I just want them to realize that what I'm doing is not what I'm doing, but where I stand, and my atheism isn't just like, to spite them, and it isn't like to hurt them, or isn't like a response to what they believe. I just want them to realize that I believe, or explain to them my lack of belief, that I've reached it on my own. I've done the research, I've looked at things, and I want them to do their own research. I want them to, not just take my word for it or me take their word for it. I want them to, I guess, just be more rational like I have and that sort of summarizes it.
Okay. You gave a couple different goals, but I'm going to let Geoff go.
So I think that the first thing to keep in mind is that you're not going to be able to achieve any of those goals by fiat. You're not going to be able to accomplish it just by sheer force of will. I think, when we actually had a call on Talk Heathen earlier that was kind of similar to this, with someone who was recently deconverted, and how to talk with his father. And I think I'm going to give you much of the same advice that Eric and I gave him, which was, when they bring up religion, and I don't know if you're starting those conversations or if they are, but I'm presuming that they are, treat the subject with respect, but also, actively engage with them on subjects that you used to talk about before, to show them, whether consciously or subconsciously on their part, that you're still the same person that they raised. You haven't suddenly switched to a different personality or anything like that. And it's a struggle. I count myself lucky because while my parents are believers, it was not. It has not been a hostile relationship since I have no conscious memory of actually believing in a deity, but it wasn't until I was in my early 20s, I think, that my mom realized that was the case. And I knew that she struggled with it, but I was also separated from them by about 500 miles. So I didn't experience it in directly what their response was. So I can only give you, my best effort at how to address the problem. But I honestly, if you want to go and look at the Talk Heathen episode from earlier today, Eric and I spent a great deal of time talking with Frood about his relationship with his father and how he can go about maintaining it. And while I don't want to retread a bunch of ground, I also don't want to give you short shrift.
Sure.
So, do everything you can to let them know that you still love them, you're still a good person, you're still the same person that they raised, you just have a disagreement with them on this one point, and, talk about the things that you used to talk about. When they bring up religion, address the issue directly, don't, shy away from it, and treat the conversation with respect, because they are struggling. Assuming that you care about your parents, like most children, then you want them to understand and get through the emotional crisis that they find themselves in.
You have two goals, and I'm not sure that that's so one of the goals that you expressed was that you want them to understand, that you're still you, that you love them, that you didn't, you came by this through an intellectual process. But then you had a second goal of you want them to be rational as well.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
And the one thing is, if the goal is for them to understand, you have to realize that neither of your goals are necessarily achievable. The best thing you can do is be yourself and communicate with them and explain it to them. It's the old adage of, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. And that's sometimes the best you can hope for. What happened on Talk Heathen, is there a serious concern on the part of your parents that maybe they don't want to see you in hell? Is that the primary thing?
I think that's definitely a part of it. I think another part of it would also be that they've just, and I've listened a lot about your background, they were kind of taken aback, by how, because they thought for the longest time that I was a believer. And then I come out as an atheist, and they're, they misunderstand it a lot, and they don't, comprehend what's going on. And there's that confusion and fear and all of that just like mixed up into this soup, and it's not a good combination.
Yeah, you can be open and talk to them. But one of the things that, I said some things to my parents which kind of helped smooth things over a little bit, which was, you believe in God, you believe that God wants me to know he exists, you believe that he has a plan and that you should pray, and you know that just telling me your testimony isn't going to change my mind. So the best thing you can do is pray that it's part of God's plan for him to reveal himself to me. And that kind of took the obligation off their shoulders and put it back on God. But the other thing is, if the hell issue is coming up, it's worth pointing out that I could look at my mom and say, I know that you are in pain because you are terrified that I'm going to burn forever in hell. I understand that, but you need to know that I'm in pain because your unwarranted religious beliefs have managed to make you miserable about the fact that I am happy and reasonable, about the fact that I don't believe the same thing you do. And the process by which I should change my mind is fundamentally different between the two of us, because you're convinced that I should change my mind just to avoid going to hell. And I'm convinced that I should change my mind just as soon as there's good reason to believe that that is the case. And
that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's letting them know that this isn't rebellion. This isn't, oh, mom and dad believed in a God, so I'm going to stop believing in a God. It's nothing like that. And that their fear of hell is understandable given what they believe, but not acceptable. And given what you believe, it would be like, ask them how many other religions, what if you had converted to some other religion, they'd have the same fear. And the people that, if your parents had been a part of a different religion and you left that one religion for another, they would have the same fear. So as an outsider, how do you tell which of these is true? But letting them know you care is probably the most important thing, because there's no telling what's going through their mind. If you sincerely believe that, the stories and everything else about hell, what could you possibly think about someone who, does not agree with you and seems to be thumbing their nose at God?
Yeah.
If you believe there was a mafia boss on the street and that, you didn't want your kid playing out in the street and breaking the rules of the local mafia boss, you'd have a really good justification to be fearful. But here's the thing. If they believe in a God that is loving, why isn't their God easing their discomfort with the notion that you're going to hell?
Yeah.
But we're about to wrap up soon. I gotta try to get to a couple other calls. I hope that's helpful for you, Ronald. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely. That's really helpful.
And by
I
all
appreciate
means,
you talking to me too, Matt.
Yeah, by all means, call us back. Let us know how it went.
Good talking to you, Ronald.
Dude, thanks, Matt. Good talking to you too.
All right, we got Jesse in New York, and I think we may have answered your question in that last call.
Yeah, pretty close. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right. First of all, I'm just a little starstruck talking to you guys. I've been a long time listener since I was younger and everything. But
well, thanks for making me feel old. I had somebody come up to me at an event, and they were like, "I've been listening to you since I was in grade school," and I was like, "Oh my God, that's just mean."
Oh no, I'm not. No, I'm not that young, but I'm
Oh, we lost our theist caller. All right.
Oh. But
so one of the things you were basically calling in to talk about this notion of, is it worthwhile to talk to family about changing their minds about religion, because you hate to see your family being fooled, which is what I kind of addressed at the end of the last call. But there's one other thing that I would kind of add on it, and maybe Geoff's got some more to add too, and that is Dan Barker is a friend of mine. He's co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation along with his wife, Annie Laurie. I'm hoping to go up and see them and speak with their group in the near future. So if you're watching, Dan, I apologize, and Annie Laurie, I apologize I haven't answered that email yet. But Dan had something nearly miraculous happen in that he had fundamentalist parents who are now atheists. He gave up his religion, and in the process of having conversations with his parents, they did too. I have absolutely no hope that that is ever going to happen with my parents. And so everybody's a little different. I have family members who have changed their mind to varying degrees. And I have other family members who flat out said, nope, we're closed-minded. Nothing you say is ever going to change their mind. It would be trying to convince me that, my son didn't exist type thing. So you got to judge it on your own.
I hear it. My other problem is with my parents especially is they've become more and more religious as time gone on, and they're Catholic. And I don't know if you guys run into this, but they've almost become like cult-like with certain saints that they'll start to worship. Do you know what I'm talking about? They attach to one saint specifically, and there's a lot of I don't know, almost like rituals that go with just that specific saint. Well, it's like scary almost. Like they're genuinely becoming cult-like, and it's scary to watch. So
Yeah.
I was just kind of, I don't know, trying to get some reassurance.
I not only watched watched the emotional damage that religions have done to people, making them sad that their kid's going to hell or whatever else. But there's also a lot of other ways that some stripes of religions do other damage.